ABC 10 News at 11 starts now.
Tonight, election week comes to an end with still no answer on who will lead the nation for the next 4 years. All eyes remain on 5 states to finish counting votes, ultimately to decide who will be our president. Good evening. I'm Steve Atkinson.
And I'm Kimberly Hunt. ABC 10 News reporter Anthony PURA is in the live center with how the race is tightening and the shift in the remaining battleground states. Anthony?
Steve, Kimberly, today Joe Biden took the lead in 2 states that President Trump was leading in yesterday. Let's take you straight to the map here. Let's start off in Pennsylvania. Still a very close race. Joe Biden leading by about 29,000 votes. 96% of the votes are in. Now, Pennsylvania has 20 electoral votes, so if Joe Biden can secure that win, it would give him enough votes for the White House. Let's travel south here to Georgia, another close race. 99% of the votes reported in. Joe Biden took the lead today from President Trump, and that lead has grown throughout the day. He's now leading by more than 4,000 votes there. Over here in Arizona, the race still tight. Joe Biden leading still, though, with roughly 30,000 votes. And in Nevada, Biden's lead in Nevada, more than 22,000 votes. 93% of the votes are in, and it is under this electoral map. This is how it stood earlier this evening when Biden addressed the country. Former Vice President Joe Biden made a public address Friday as votes are counted up for the 4th straight night. Biden with a message of calm for an anxious nation.
We're going to win this race with a clear majority with the nation behind us. Never forget, the tallies aren't just numbers. They represent votes and voters.
Uptown Tavern in Hillcrest showed Biden's address at the restaurant. Many cheered his words. The restaurant's co-owner, a Biden supporter, said he sounded presidential.
It would be nice to feel proud of the person who represents the highest office in our land.
Ellen Nash, also a local Biden supporter, has been glued to her TV throughout the day as his vote count grew in crucial swing states.
I believe that Biden can bring this country together, help us heal as a nation.
President Donald Trump not making any in-person public statements Friday, but taking to Twitter saying, "We need an explanation as to how these numbers have been running up for the last 2 or 3 days." The president's team has already filed multiple lawsuits as he questions the integrity of the election, making unsupported claims of fraud. Election officials across the country adamantly dispute the president's claims. Trump supporters still by his side. Outside the Registrar of Voters in San Diego, Sky 10 flew over a group waving Trump flags, rallying outside its doors. One of them told ABC 10 News off camera they wanted to show solidarity with the president. But Blake Marnell says he has not lost his trust in Trump. The local Trump supporter garnered national attention for wearing a brick wall suit during the campaign, showing his support for the president's border security policy. Trump even called him up on stage during a rally. He now plans to attend a weekend Trump rally in Phoenix, similar to this one, which played out Thursday.
He has fought long and hard for us over the past 4 years, and I don't intend to abandon the fight for him.
Now, we talked about Pennsylvania, so crucial with 20 electoral votes, but the race is so close here that it could trigger a recount. We will get into that later in the show in just a few minutes. We're reporting live in the Live Center. Anthony PURA, ABC 10 News.
Anthony, thank you. And we are joined now by USD law professor Craig Barkas. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
To break down the presidential race and the legal challenges that we're seeing in multiple states, let's just talk for just a second here, because adults today remember Bush versus Gore, the Supreme Court decision over the Florida recount. But looking at the current situation, can you give me a scenario where going through the courts could change what seems to be coming in the days ahead?
Yes, there's only one avenue that appears to be available, and it's something of a long shot, but it's this. If it were to come down to Pennsylvania, in essence, whoever wins Pennsylvania would win the election, similar to Florida in 2000. At issue right now, the biggest issue, and one that the Supreme Court has shown some interest in, is what to do with ballots that were postmarked prior to the election, but they arrived afterwards. Now, those votes have been sequestered. So if this dynamic happened where, again, the only state in play happened in Pennsylvania, and the difference in the vote count in Pennsylvania was those sequestered votes, that would be a very parallel situation to what happened in Florida. And that's one that could end up in the Supreme Court.
So you did bring up this one situation in Pennsylvania. Let's expand that a little bit, because I did mention Bush 2020 recount. Explain the differences, because we have so many other things at play here with President Trump's election suits.
Yeah, the biggest difference is it's not looking like those votes are going to be determinative. Okay, when we're looking at Bush versus Gore, we were looking at less than 1,000 votes. Right now, Biden is up by, I believe it was 20 or 30,000 in Pennsylvania, and that's expected to grow. And the number of votes in question, those that are postmarked prior to the election but arrived after, my understanding is that's in the single digits. Now, again, I don't know those things for sure, but if that's the case, it's unlikely that it will follow the same path that Bush versus Gore did in the year 2000.
So your final thoughts on this would be you don't see too many paths for this being successful?
That was the most promising one they had. And for a long time, for at least for a while after the election, it seems like a long time, I suppose, for all of us, but it seemed as though it might come down to Pennsylvania. But now you've got an issue where the legal avenue isn't only difficult, but the math has become difficult because of there's now other states involved. And in those other states, I'm not aware of any legal challenges that would likely result in those states being flipped. Again, I can't say that for sure, but you've been kind enough to invite me on your show, and I really have tried to look at this closely. And the one case that would have the most promise to the president is the one you referenced, and that one might be a slipping away because of the math.
All right, thank you, Professor Craig Barkas, for joining us again this evening.
White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows has coronavirus. One official says that Meadows told people after the election he had the virus, but wasn't clear when he first tested positive. You can see the video. This is taken on Tuesday. There he is in the background. Meadows on the right there in the blue tie and no mask. In that video, he is so close in proximity to the first family and several Trump campaign officials. Meadows is now among more than 36 people associated with and including the president or his staff who've been infected by the virus since last month.
Turning now to the weather, the rain is starting to fall across the county. This is out front the ABC 10 News parking lot. Well, it's not a lot, but it is the start of a wet weekend. Let's check in now with weather anchor Jennifer De La Cruz. She's tracking the storm. Hi, Jen.
Hey, Kimberly, it's really all just beginning. We've seen a little bit of rain pushing through San Diego County. Not a whole lot. Overall, just a couple 107 inch. But once again, just the beginning of the first big storm of the season. We are anticipating heavier rainfall for tomorrow, and it's going to take us all the way through Sunday night. So really just getting started here. Pinpoint Doppler Live, we did have some light spotty showers pushing in from the west, making their way east across the county, starting to break up in portions of Valley Center and Escondido and moving south throughout the county as well. Portions of Jamul and Alpine getting a little sprinkles right now. Overall, not a whole lot, but it is windy out there for much of San Diego County, even as far as the coastline. 21-mile-per-hour gusts in La Jolla, 22 in Carlsbad, 31-mile-per-hour gusts in Julian right now. We do have a wind advisory already in effect. That's going to take us through the weekend as well. Hour by hour at the coast, a chilly night, breezy conditions. Our chance for rain starts to increase through the overnight hours, but even more so tomorrow morning through the rest of the afternoon. We have a chance for thunderstorms and even a chance for snow in some areas, and breaking down all of that coming up in your 7-day forecast.
All right, Jen, thank you. A patient in Los Angeles has a new heart tonight after a dramatic hard landing. A helicopter leaving from Sharp Grossmont in La Mesa was transporting that heart. The helicopter then landed on its side on the helipad of the hospital. Our ABC 10 News reporter Laura Acevedo shows us the frantic attempt to save the organ after the accident.
This was the wreckage on top of the Keck Hospital of USC in Los Angeles Friday afternoon. Tense moments as emergency crews worked to safely retrieve a heart from the helicopter. The heart was from a donor. ABC 10 News has confirmed the helicopter left from Sharp Grossmont Hospital in La Mesa. The crash landing happening just after 3:15 in Los Angeles. Crews were able to safely get the heart out, but just seconds later, a doctor trips and falls while holding an object. The crew picks it up, then heads into the hospital. The hospital says 3 were on board at the time. Only the pilot suffered minor injuries.
I'm alive. I wouldn't have been if it wasn't. It's real simple.
Bob Majori is a heart transplant recipient from San Marcos.
The first thought went to me, oh my gosh, they lost an organ. Second was, oh my gosh, recipient's not going to get an organ.
Majori's transplant was 8 years ago. He says he still gets emotional when he hears a helicopter.
It tugs at your heart because you know what everyone on both sides is going through.
And says whoever received the heart is incredibly lucky.
I can only tell you what I would think if I were in their position. And I would think I was truly blessed because a lot could have gone wrong that didn't.
Hospital administrators say the heart was transplanted into a patient within 2 hours of the crash. Laura Acevedo, ABC 10 News.
The passenger aboard a plane that crashed in Las Vegas on the way to San Diego has been identified. The medical examiner says 35-year-old Tyrone Caballar was killed when the twin-engine Cessna went down last Thursday. The pilot was also killed. The pilot's name has not yet been released. Witnesses reported seeing the aircraft flying low and then sputtering and crashing after takeoff. We could learn more about what caused this crash in a preliminary report which is expected next week.
Turning now to the coronavirus, the county reported 480 new cases today. That brings our total now to more than 59,000. There were also 3 new deaths, bringing that total to 907. 2 San Diego strip clubs are allowed to reopen after a judge's ruling today. The Union Tribune reports that Judge Joel Woolfield issued a temporary injunction stopping the enforcement of the county's cease and desist order filed against Pacers Showgirls International and Cheetah's Gentlemen's Club. The county ordered Pacers to stop all live entertainment 3 weeks ago following a stabbing incident involving Padres outfielder Tommy Pham outside the club. A few days later, Cheetah's was served as well. Judge Woolfield said that both locations need to follow extensive measures designed to prevent the spread of coronavirus.